Part 4 of our weight loss series, here we go. Today we're going to be continuing our discussion on diet execution. So now that we have all of the major parameters dialed in, let's talk about day-to-day activities. Day 1, you're going to weigh yourself in the morning. You need to do this before eating or drinking anything. You're going to log that weight. You're going to take some before pictures, and that's going to be your baseline that we talked about in the first video of the plan. And then whatever day in the week that you start, pick 3 or 4 days after that, and that's going to be your second weigh-in day. So for example, if you start on a Sunday, then your second weigh-in day is going to be either Wednesday or Thursday. Now, you don't want to be weighing in every day. It's too much, it gets obsessive, and you don't really see too much change day to day. So twice a week is the correct amount. Only weigh yourself on those 2 days per week and log it each time. And then throughout the day, you're going to log every single thing that you eat in your calorie counting app. And the number that you're shooting for is your TDEE plus your deficit. And so, for example, if you calculated your deficit to be negative 750 calories per day, and your TDEE is 2250 calories, well then your calories in should be 1500 calories per day. You do need to be strict with this number, but you don't have to be exactly on the mark every day. So if you're shooting for 1500 calories in, you don't need to be exactly at 1500 every day. You can be plus or minus, let's say 25 calories, but since you're dieting, when in doubt, go a little bit under. And to really dial things in, the food scale is going to be your friend here. What you don't want to do is go rogue and assume that, hey, if 1500 calories is good, well then surely 1300 is better. Why not 1200? This is absolutely wrong. Don't do it. What you need is consistency. That's important. Stick to the plan. And of course, as we discussed in the last video, you also need to be hitting your protein intake. And this number is a minimum, so you need to be hitting at least that or over. Going over is okay, but we know that it's very important to keep our protein intake high. Now, aside from that, just go about your week as normal. Do your normal activities, do your normal exercise, make sure that you're getting that light to moderate strength training in, as I discussed in the last video, and light cardio is optional. At the start of your second week, you'll be on your third weigh-in, right? And if you chose your deficit as negative 750, which I recommended for the first time, then you want to be down at least 1.5 pounds. Now, you might be down more than 1.5 pounds. And as I discussed before, a lot of this is probably water weight. So it is likely that you will be down more than the 1.5 pounds. And I want you to be proud of that. That's a good thing. It's a great start, but just be aware that that's what's happening and it's not all pure fat loss at the beginning. So you're going to repeat those daily activities. You're going to be logging your calories every day. You're going to be tracking your protein every day. You're going to be weighing in twice a week. You're going to be fitting in your strength training and maybe some cardio. And as you do this, the first week or two should go pretty smoothly, maybe even 3 weeks. But there will come a time when you're not losing that 1.5 pounds per week anymore. What this means is that your body is adjusting. Number one, since you weigh less, you are burning less calories. Secondarily, your metabolism might be slowing a little bit. So this is a normal part of the diet. What do you do in this case? In this case, we need to make an adjustment. If your daily caloric intake is 2000 calories or over, you're going to drop that caloric intake by 100 calories per day. So if it was 2000, now it's 1900. If, however, your caloric intake goal is under 2000, you're only going to drop it by 50. So if it was 1500, you go down to 1450. And then just go back to the same process as before, the same exact process. Don't change anything except for you now have a reduced caloric intake number. Your calories in number is lower. And these adjustments are absolutely crucial for diet success. You see, what happens is that at some point in every diet, the numbers on the scale stop going down. Sometimes they even go up. And what happens is that people get extremely discouraged and they do one of two things. Either they just stop altogether, which is a huge mistake, or number two, they drastically reduce their calories instead of the little steps that I'm suggesting here. Maybe they drop their calories by 200, 300, 400 calories, and then that's unsustainable, and then they also stop the diet. The important part here is that we make the little adjustments and keep on going as before. Now, these adjustments are why we don't have to have everything correctly calculated from the very start, especially the TDEE. Remember when I said just use that online calculator and call it good and we'll figure out the exact number later? This is what I was talking about. If that number was a little bit off, that's fine. We'll just adjust it week to week. And so being able to make these small changes is what makes this sort of diet very robust. You don't have to have everything right. You don't have to have everything figured out from the beginning. You can just adjust as you go. And that's all there is, day to day, week to week. It is simple, but not easy. And the hard part is really just having the discipline to stick to that diet every day, stick to that calories in every day, no exceptions, no cheat meals, anything like that. And just keep going until you get it done. And of course, making those adjustments when necessary. Now, in case this is all too theoretical, let's go back to my weight loss challenge. I'll show you my actual data and maybe it'll make things a little bit more concrete. Okay, I think I actually showed this before in the first video, the weight loss challenge video, but this is the actual data. This is the log from the challenge, and here it is in graphical form. So you can see that I started here at 193.2 pounds, and I want to lose 10 pounds in 5 weeks. So that's obviously 2 pounds per week. And since fat weighs 3,500 calories per pound, that's a 7,000 calorie per week deficit or a 1,000 calorie deficit per day. Again, I recommend against this large of a deficit if it's your first time, but hey, it's your life, do what you want. I went ahead and I followed the steps that I recommended. I knew that my deficit had to be negative 1,000. And I happen to know that my average daily calories out was approximately 3,150 per day via a combination of strength training, light cardio, and jiu-jitsu training. So I set my initial calories at 2,150 calories. And since I weighed in at 193.2 pounds and using the 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight metric, I knew I needed at least 155 grams of protein per day. So here you can see day one of my diet. With the goal of 2,150 calories per day, on day one, I ate 2,129 calories. You can see that right here. And also my protein intake, my goal was 155 grams of protein or more per day. You can see right here that it was 179.3 grams. So I met my caloric intake and I met my protein intake that day. My weigh-in days were Sunday and Thursday, so let's go to Thursday, see how I did. That day, I ate 2,159 calories and 193.3 grams of protein. So this is where I said that your numbers don't have to be totally exact, a little bit plus or minus is okay. And I kept up this routine of logging my food and weighing myself twice a week for that full 5 weeks. Let's go back to the graph here. So the solid line here is my measured weight, and the dotted line here is my predicted weight loss, if it followed the exact linear path of 2 pounds of weight loss per week. Now you can see from this dotted line here and the difference between the dotted line and the measured line that on my first weigh-in here, just after a few days, I was quite a bit under where I predicted I would be. And so, like I said, this is that water weight coming off. This is normal. Your first weigh-in will likely be a pretty decent jump like this. And then by the end of the first week here, you can see that I was slightly under target, but under target. Second week here, going down the same path. Things are looking good. But notice right here, during the middle of the second week and into the third week, things start to go flat. I'm no longer losing weight. So what do? Now it's time for the adjustment. So I was at that 2,150 calories. I dropped it by 100 to 2,050 calories. And you see that my weight starts going down again. And I did this every time things weren't going exactly as I wanted, or when I was a little bit scared. For example, right here, I was barely in the line, so I probably cut again right here to make sure that I continued this downward trajectory. And these flat parts right here, these are the crucial parts of the diet. This is where you want to give up, where you're afraid that the diet isn't working. And this is exactly where you need to stay the course. So somewhere around one of these points, I dropped even further down from 2150 to around 2000 to 1900. And sure enough, my weight kept falling ultimately. At this point right here, my weight actually increased, right? So this is really disheartening. I had this flat part right here, then it dropped quite a bit. I was happy again, but then it increased, and you're thinking, okay, I'm doing something wrong. Again, this is not the time to panic. Weight loss always looks like this. It always looks messy and choppy. Sometimes it goes flat, sometimes it even goes up. It's never gonna look like this exact straight line. So that's something else to be aware of. Don't panic when these sorts of things happen. Stay the course, make your adjustments, stay the course. And some of these fluctuations could be due to increased water retention or some of the minor factor that skewed the data. I mean, in most of these cases, we really are talking about a pound or fractions of a pound. So if you were actually to zoom out, even this bumpy line would look pretty straight. And this is another reason to only weigh in twice per week rather than trying to chase some number every day. And so all I did was follow the exact plan and process that I have laid out here in these videos. Day to day, week to week, I've explained exactly how I did it and exactly how I...
Say
exactly.
Again, I dare you. I double dare you, mother. Say
exactly.
one more damn time.
Reached and beat my goal. Now, as far as calories, remember I started at 2,150 calories. That was my daily intake goal. By the end of the diet, I was at a goal of 1,650 calories per day. And on the very last day here, you can see I only ate 1,635 calories. And this is still while weighing 180 pounds and exercising every day, basically, sometimes for an hour or more. But that's what it took, and ultimately I ended up well below my goal of losing 10 pounds and instead lost 12.6 pounds. Now, let me go back to something that I said a few videos ago that may have rubbed some people the wrong way. Don't talk to me about your age. Don't talk to me about your metabolism. Don't talk to me about the fact that metabolism slows down with age. Don't talk to me about your hormones. Don't talk to me about being big boned, that you just naturally are starving all the time, that you swear all you eat is rice cakes and celery. Okay, don't talk to me about any of that. I was explaining in pretty blunt terms that you need to leave your excuses at the door. And I've been very transparent with this whole process. I mean, I just showed you all of my data. I showed you pictures of myself in the first video. So everything is out there. This is all true data. And you see what it truly took me to go on this weight loss journey. And what I want to say is that, you know, I'm a person that's been working out all of my adult life and through childhood as well, been active. I made a study of this field. I became a certified strength and conditioning specialist, which is one of the best certifications or the highest level certifications that you can get. At my last gym, the master trainer there said, one day I hope to get that certification. So that's not to brag or anything like that. I'm just saying that I'm a person that knows what he's doing in this field, and you see what it took me.
He's out of line, but he's right.
And so when I lost that 12.6 pounds of fat in 5 weeks, that's 2.52 pounds per week. And so if we assume that all or almost all of that was fat, which I think based on the pictures, that's pretty much true, then that was an average caloric deficit of 1,260 calories per day. Also, while making sure every day to eat at least 155 grams of protein. So to put this in perspective, the FDA estimates that the average person in the United States, the average adult, needs to eat 2,000 calories a day to maintain their weight. So by that metric, that's like eating only 740 calories per day for 35 days straight. No breaks, never messing up once, never making a mistake. That takes a lot of willpower because no one's forcing you to do it, right? And then in addition, I'm also exercising between 1 and 2 hours every day on average, strength training, cardio, jiu-jitsu 3 or 4 times a week, and of course having a full-time job and family and social obligations. Now, I've talked to many people over the years and they claim that they've tried weight loss and dieting before and it just hasn't worked for them. And they swear up and down that they've done everything right, that they've tried X, Y, and Z diets, that they've exercised, and just nothing's working. But the truth is that they haven't put in anywhere near the amount of work that I'm explaining right now.
Well, why you pulling me? I'm right.
And these same people sure are quick to give me the 10 reasons why that it's just so much easier for me. It's so much harder for them. They have these special circumstances, these special considerations, these undiagnosed conditions, medical conditions, right? But they've never put in the amount of work that I'm explaining. Now, I know that dieting is hard for most people. I mean, it's hard for me. So trust me, I sympathize. You see, I've shown you all of the work that it took me. It wasn't easy, so I get it. But I think in dieting, it's important to remember 2 things. The first is that this is your choice. You're the one choosing to do this. No one else is making you. You have the control. And so that's a message of empowerment. You have the ability to change what you want to change. The second thing to keep in mind is that this is temporary. So while having a healthy diet is something that you should be doing for your entire life, being in an intentional caloric deficit for the purpose of losing weight is meant to be temporary, and it should be temporary. And so just like everything else in life that is worth doing, it's going to require a little bit of pain and sacrifice. But you do get the reward at the end, and that reward is being a healthier you. This is a serious matter. Being severely overweight will kill you. You will die earlier than you would have otherwise if you were a normal weight. There is a causal relationship between being severely overweight and dying early. Well, maybe you don't believe me. Okay, that's fine. I brought receipts. So if you search obesity and early death in Google Scholar, you only get about 3.3 million results. Let's take a look at a couple of them here. I've got a couple pulled up here. Okay, let's see what we got here. Annals of Oncology. This study found that a higher waist to hip ratio and waist circumference, aka being overweight, were associated with increased risk of pancreatic cancer mortality, even when adjusted for BMI baseline. BMI during early adulthood was associated with increased pancreatic cancer mortality. So being overweight increases your chances of, in this case, pancreatic cancer, and others, I'm sure. Some of you watching this may be mothers. Here is Obesity, a research journal. The conclusion: maternal obesity in early pregnancy is associated with various adverse pregnancy outcomes in Chinese women, suggesting the importance of an appropriate weight before and during pregnancy. And here it kind of gets into the grisly details. Compared to normal weight, obesity was associated with total mortality relative risks and fetal loss, but not with infant death. So that's good. Further analysis showed that obesity was particularly associated with spontaneous abortion. So being overweight could cause you to lose a pregnancy. How about this one? Journal of the American Medical Association, I think. Here the conclusion: the estimated number of annual deaths attributed to obesity among US adults is approximately 280,000. So this is deaths attributable to obesity only and not other factors. Okay? How about this one? New England Journal of Medicine. Maybe you heard of them. Conclusion: Obesity, glucose intolerance, and hypertension in childhood were strongly associated with increased rates of premature deaths. Right? So more children are dying due to being obese and overweight. I could do this all day. Finally, Obesity Research Journal again. Results. Compared to participants of reference weight, a normal body weight, mortality was likely to occur 9.44 years earlier for those who were obese. So if you're obese compared to a healthy weight, you're going to die 9.44 years earlier on average. So if that doesn't convince you, I don't know what else to say. So hopefully now it makes sense why I'm using language and tone that's a little bit harsher than you might like. But compared to all of the things that can kill people and do kill people on a daily basis, this one is preventable. This is something that you can do something about today. And think about the quality of those years too. They'll be much higher if you're at a healthier weight. And maybe it's not just for you. I'm sure that everyone watching this has people that care about you. Do you want to be with them for an extra decade or not? So you have the power. And so at the end here, I don't want this to come off as doom and gloom, because that's not the truth. The truth is that this is a message of hope and empowerment. You have the power. You have the power to change this. If you're watching this and you're struggling with your weight, you can change this starting today. And I've explained over these last videos exactly how to do it, a way that works, a way that I know works because I've done it. And that's why I say in a lot of my videos, we can do this together. I know we can do this together. So don't feel like you're alone. Don't feel like you can't do it. I'm showing you that it can be done. That's the whole point. And what I really want for everybody watching this is for you to have those extra 9.5 years that you wouldn't otherwise have. All right, well, that's enough for this video. So I've got one more video in the series where I'm gonna share tips and tricks. And so these are gonna be helpful tips and tricks to conducting the diet, but also if you're having trouble at some certain part, if you're doing everything I said, but it's still not working exactly how it should, then I'm gonna reveal a couple things that maybe bend the rules of what we talked about, but that should get you back on the right path. All right, and as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.